Hi guys, Olive here today to talk to you about my reading plans for May of 2019. It has continued to be a really great reading year for me, and historically speaking, May has been the month where I read a book, or in the case of last year, 2 books that end up being top books of the year for me. So yeah, no pressure at all to keep those streaks going. I'm going to continue plugging away at the book list that I'm hoping to get through this year. The first of those is my 5-star nonfiction predictions list. The one that I'm going to be reading this month was the one that I thought was the biggest slam dunk of a 5-star prediction, considering that 2 of the author's other books made it onto my top nonfiction books of the year for 2018. But that book is Buzz, The Nature and Necessity of Bees by Thor Hansen. This is a nonfiction book, obviously, that is all about bees. I thought it would be fitting to read about bees during the springtime, but I just love the way Thor Hansen writes, and I think we all know how obsessed with science and nature books I am, so I will eat my own hand if this does not earn 5 stars. On an infinitely less cheery note, the book that I'm taking on this month for my 10 most popular books on my TBR list is Atonement by Ian McEwan. I've tried reading this once before. This is a very dark tale of a young girl who thinks she sees something, tells people about it, and ends up ruining everyone's lives because of this action. I have been wanting to read this book, but also have been dreading reading this book because after watching the movie, I was scarred for years afterward. It was just deeply devastating. I am a few years older now than I was when I first watched the movie, so I do feel more capable of appreciating the story, but I kind of just want to get this over with once and for all. The book I'm reading off of my Classics TBR this month is Evelina by Fanny Burney. This is an epistolary novel that tells the story of a young woman who is introduced into high society for the very first time. This leads to a lot of comedy and satire as the book goes on because Evelina is thoroughly confused by all of the nonsensical elements of society. This book was actually a recommendation from a wonderful former booktuber, Ron Litz, who I started watching long before I even had my channel. Her videos were just fantastic, and I would link you to them, but sadly she has deleted all of them, which makes me so upset. But I will say I am happy that I finally get to read this off of her recommendation. And speaking of my Classics TBR, during the month of April, I finally finished reading the last book that I had to read of Jane Austen's 6 novels. And now that I've done so, I'd like to move on to reading more about Jane herself. So this month I will be picking up Jane Austen, A Life by Claire Tomalin. I actually read the first chapter of this book during a try a chapter tag I did when we were living at our old apartments. I really liked what I read of it. It just got overshadowed by Jhumpa Lahiri in that video, but now it is Jane's time to shine. An exciting thing that is happening during the month of May is that I'm hosting my first ever read-along. It is long overdue for me to host a read-along, and so for 2 weeks during the month of May, we will be reading The Big Green Tent by Ludmila Ulitskaya. This is a coming-of-age tale of 3 young boys living in the post-Stalin era of the Soviet Union who are learning to express dissent through art. We are going to begin reading this book on Monday, May 13th, so you still have plenty of time if you would like to join in. I urge you to do so. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I will post a link to my announcement video for the read-along down in the description box below and up in the cards, but I will also give you all the details for the read-along in the description box below. I'm slowly trying to make more of an effort to pick up more of those nonfiction books that have been really popular over the past few months, mainly since this past year's Nonfiction November. One I've been really excited to finally get to is The Library book by Susan Orlean. This is a history of the big fire that ravaged the Los Angeles Public Library in the mid-1980s. I know this one is definitely going to contain some very somber material, but I have heard great things about it. Another one I imagine will lean to the melancholy side is A Station on the Path to Somewhere Better by Benjamin Wood. I feel like I've been talking about this book so much recently, despite not actually having read it yet. This book is about an estranged father and son pair who decide to go on a road trip together in an attempt to mend their relationship. I think that either one or potentially even both of these characters are struggling with mental illness, which is a common theme throughout all of Benjamin Wood's books. I've really loved his previous 2 books, and in fact, his last book, The Ecliptic, was my absolute favorite book of 2016. Therefore, I think the decision to pick this book up in the month of May, the month when books typically wow me, was a good one. And then there's a newer nonfiction book that I've been really eager to pick up. It's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. A therapist, her therapist, and our lives revealed by Lori Gottlieb. This is a memoir by therapist Lori Gottlieb, who was going through a really hard time with a breakup when she decided that she needed to speak with someone. It was only supposed to be a few emergency sessions to get her through that situation and not a long-term arrangement. But obviously it morphed into something more than that, and it seems to have taught her more about her own profession than she could have ever learned from the opposite end of the couch. This just sounded so intriguing that I needed to pick it up sooner rather than later. Therapy is a really intimate experience, so to be able to hear about it from the viewpoint of the therapist, but also of the therapy seeker, all in one book, seems like it's going to be extremely revealing and also illuminating. It's just my type of memoir. I only have one thing left to do in this video, and that's to pick the 3 options for my random book off of my TBR for the month. If you've never seen me do this, what I do is go to Goodreads, to my to-read shelf, and use a random number generator to select 3 different books off of that list. So my 3 options for the random book off of my TBR for the month are as follows. Option number 1 is Journey to the Center of the Earth, a scientific exploration into the heart of our planet by David Whitehouse. Option number 2 is Dressed Up for a Riot, Misadventures in Putin's Moscow by Michael Idov. And option number 3 is A Murder of Magpies by Judith Flanders. I used to be the one who would select which of these 3 books I would read during the month, but in the fairly recent past, I have handed over this choice to those viewers who are willing and able to support the channel with a small pledge. If you would like to pledge and join in on the vote and therefore have the opportunity to read the winning book with me if it interests you, I will put the link down below for where you can go and do that. That being said, I do understand that this is not in the cards for everyone financially, so please note that even if you're not able to make a pledge, you will still hear me talk about this book in my May wrap-up, but not until then. So those are all the books that I will be attempting to read during the month of May. I'd love to hear from you if you've read any of these books or if you've heard of them. You can put that in the comment section below, or if you'd prefer to chat with me somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media, and I will put all the links to my profiles in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.